Yes.
When the scholars of tafsir look at the different verses and they take the understanding of different letters standing for something. Where does that understanding? I mean, I'm sure it's. I'm just like genuinely trying to understand where does that understanding come from.
So the question is that when scholars of tafsir talk about the letters, as Imam Zayd did, that the ba is from bar, and the sin is from sami', and the mim is from min, where does that come from? Generally speaking, in terms of what is clearly established in the Qur'an by hadith and by outward knowledge, we don't talk about what letters mean. And if you look at the tafsir, for example, of Alif Lam Mim, a lot of tafsirs will say God knows best what it means, and they just pass on. But sometimes you have tafsirs that do talk about letters, and that can go back to the companions, it can go back to the successors of the companions, and they might say, for example, that Alif is Allah and Lam is Jibreel and Mim is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam delivered two types of knowledge, as Abu Hurairah tells us in the Sahih, in Bukhari and other collections. Abu Hurairah says, I received from the Prophet two camel loads of knowledge. The hadith that I give to you and the hadith that I don't give to you. A hadith which if I gave to you, you wouldn't understand them and you would be perplexed by them. So we also have an inner tradition which is in the hearts of people who fear God and who believe in God and is transmitted by them. So when Imam Zayd mentioned that about the ba and the sin and the mim and the alif and the lam and so forth, then he said, you might ask, well, where does this come from? What's the authority for that? And didn't he say that? That he just says that these are things that we can benefit. In other words, this is not knowledge that you have to believe, and it's not necessarily even certain knowledge, but these are things that are there to maybe awaken people to the depths of the message. And then when it comes to the knowledge of letters, that is a science that some people have. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. I don't know where they would get that. They might get it from spiritual illumination. But, it is, something that is not required of people to believe. So if you find it beneficial, you can benefit from it. Do you have a question? Raise your hand, you have to ask a question. Okay. Yes?
In Southeast Asia, they take the letters like a surah and they put it into numbers. Is there any validity to that? Actually...
the letters do stand for numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. What's number 1? Alif. What's number 2? Ba. What's number 3?
But what they do is they take it and they put it into some sort of I've seen it where they take it and put it into triangles and they give it to people and say,
I don't have that art myself. I don't know much about it. But what is letter 3? What is number 3? Jim. What is number 4? Dal. What is number 5? Ha. So every letter has a number, and that was true of all Semitic tongues. Abjad, Hawaz, Hutti, Kalaman. That's the old order of the alphabet, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 1,000, 2,000, that's how it works. And that's how people used to count. It's a very difficult way to add, very difficult way to subtract. One of the great breakthroughs of Islamic civilization is that it takes the mathematical knowledge, the arithmetic and mathematics of the Persians, the Indians, the Greeks, the rabbis, and it creates this incredible mathematics. And that took about 550 years to culminate in algebra and almost in calculus. Maybe Muslims did have calculus, but they got very close to it. Hisab with takamul. And how that mathematics grows up in Islam is very interesting. It's been studied by people. Fuad Sezgin has got some really good articles on it. But learning to count and to use numbers, which we call Arabic numbers, even though they actually were Indian, but the Arabs took them and they simplified them, they worked with them. That was a huge breakthrough. And where would science have gone if we were still using letters for numbers? In our Western tradition, 1 was what? I. And 2 was V, 2 was II, 5 was V, X was 10. Very difficult to add and subtract. Virtually impossible.